Noise complaint turns abusive for law enforcement officers. BERBICE man in police custody for allegedly stealing a cow. Ghana's newest centenarian daughter attributed her mother's long life to being caring and giving in her youth. In the region, Afghan refugee group arrives in Mexico after fleeing Taliban rule, and U.S. inflation, highest levels in decades, hit working Americans. Greetings and welcome to another edition of Channel 2 Headline News Update. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. A noise disturbance complaint on the Essequibo's East Bank became physical and verbally abusive for law enforcement officers. Esther Sobers has more.
Madam.
Several police officers were last evening assaulted after responding to a noise nuisance report at Purika Facade East Bank, Essequibo. According to a police report on Wednesday around 9 p.m., a party of police responded to a noise nuisance report via telephone made by a caller against a woman. Upon arrival, ranks were greeted with loud music coming from the premises of the suspect. As the ranks entered the yard, they saw the suspect and 3 other persons consuming alcohol. She was warned to turn the music off but became loud and aggressive. In the process, the woman physically assaulted and abused the ranks with a series of explicits.
Good. Go, hey, madam. Madam, this ain't got nothing to do with marriage, madam. Madam, I gotta figure you. I gotta figure you. Good.
You don't touch me.
You not female, sir. You don't get involved.
No.
Don't get involved. Good.
The music equipment was seized and taken to the Purika police station and lodged. Further investigations are in progress. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. More than 150 persons in Region 10 are now employed as the government commenced the construction of 20 elevated homes in Amelia's Ward, Linden. On Wednesday, August 25th, the Minister of Housing and Water, Colin Crowell, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Hugh Todd, visited the area to assess the ongoing work. The housing program is a commitment made by President Mohamed Irfan Ali to Lindeners during an outreach in January. Minister Crowell says this is a testament that the government has kept its word. It is also in keeping with the commitment to create 50,000 jobs.
We also have, as part of our community enhancement project, working with small groups in communities, and that is, for example, the block making. So you will find us in just like what you saw in Georgetown, being engaged here. So we'll be working with small groups for the making of the blocks to be supplied for our housing program. And so this is the initial phase. For example, Christianburg and the other communities in this vicinity will be engaged for that supplying of the blocks.
All materials for the construction of the 20 elevated homes are being sourced from businesses within the mining town. Minister Crowell stated that the government will make significant investments in the infrastructure for the over 400 house lots that were recently distributed in Linden.
Infrastructure work for that will see in 2022 over $1.2 billion being spent on first phase infrastructure. So what that means is land clearance preparation, the drainage network, the road network, put it to a level or at least ask to crush a run to allow persons to access, and that's a commitment that we've made. For the rest of this year, in Amelia's Ward and Wizrock, they can see us doing some road maintenance work to the tune of about $40 million. And next year, as part of our 2022 budget, we're committing another $100 million for road maintenance in those areas.
The minister said a joint visit with a team from the National Industrial and Commercial Investments Limited will be undertaken to identify and develop more areas for the government's housing program.
All the people of Region 10, Linden and wherever you are, can look forward to a government aggressive housing program that will see providing housing solutions not only from house lots perspective, but also to have safe communities and better communities for the people of 10, creating employment and also providing that housing environment for many of their Lindeners.
James Hooper, a contractor for Emmanuel Contracting Service, said he is grateful that the government is giving back to its people.
I just want to say
thanks to the president for creating jobs for persons. I want to say thanks because we have 150 persons right now who's employed here. And we're very grateful because most of the employment came from Region 10. Right? We want to thank the Housing Minister also. And as I said, we're happy to know that the government would have given back to Region 10.
Nikki Fitku of Fitku Construction shared similar sentiments.
This has significantly impacted the economy of Linden since it reflects it, as you can see. There a number of persons are dependent on this type of activity.
This housing development is to the tune of $1.2 billion. Don't go away after the break. BERBICE man in police custody accused of stealing a cow, and a Centenarian daughter attributed her mother's long life to being caring and giving in her youth.
At 4 p.m., the doors for Flavors Hotel, Restaurant and Bar will be opening. We are just opening our doors for the public. Being a new restaurant, new establishment, we want to get kitchens in place, the bar in place, the employees, the staff, the service, so that by the 28th, the grand opening, all systems are in place. There are no falters. Our bar is far beyond anywhere else. We've got lots of specialty drinks that I'm sure Afghans will appreciate. Our food is unsurpassed. We have a specialty menu with a certain type of steak, certain type of fish. It's unsurpassed. We bring professionalism to Guyana. You get the best entertainment 7 days a week. We have entertainment. I'm a stickler for jazz, Sunday jazz. I'm pushing jazz. I've got a couple of jazz bands that will be here every Sunday at 6. So please come by. Very creative person, creative in the kitchen. I'm actually a contractor that builds restaurants and bars. So I've kind of perfected the art in Atlanta and New York. And I decided to bring a bit of America to Guyana.
#1 hangout spot, Flavors Hotel Restaurant Bar.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brick Dam and White Castle Fish Shop. Be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Go to school so that someday I can do something to make a difference.
I'm the first in my family to attend the university, and I won't be the last.
I want my daughter to be able to hold her head up high in this world as a proud, educated woman.
Education has changed my life by giving me the opportunity to make it better.
Welcome back. A BERBICE man is in police custody accused of stealing a cow. Esther Sobers has the details.
Police have arrested a 23-year-old man as they investigate the alleged theft of a cow this morning around 1:20 hours in JC Chandy Singh Street, Rose Hall Town, Quarantine, Berbice. According to reports, police ranks on a motorcycle patrol within the Rose Hall Town Station District observed a cow tied with a rope being driven across the public road by the suspect. As the man saw the ranks, he quickly abandoned the animal and escaped. The ranks took possession of the animal and took it to the Rose Hall Town Police Outpost and lodged it. Subsequently, while the police were patrolling the same area, the man was caught. He had a blue and white canvas robe and cap with a torchlight in his possession. He was placed in custody pending further investigations. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. A 59-year-old minibus driver of Parfait Harmony, West Bank, Demerara, is now left counting his losses after returning home from work last evening to find his home vandalized. Enquiries disclosed that the victim, who lives alone, secured his premises around 5 a.m., leaving everything intact and went to work. When he arrived home at around 9:15 p.m., he noticed that the bolt and padlock that locked his door had been tampered with and the door was open. A music set, a television set, and a gas cylinder were all missing when the man entered his home. The items are estimated to be worth around $150,000. The incident was reported to the authorities and an investigation is in progress. In this report, Esther Sobers visited Guyana's newest centenarian, who is celebrating her 100th birthday.
Living to 100 is a rare and remarkable feat, but despite the odds, Alma Kroll has attained one of the world's rarest titles. She has officially become a centenarian, celebrating her 100th birthday today. Mrs. Kroll, a resident of Caneview Avenue, South Bromveld, was born on August 26, 1921, and lives a full life as a single mother who cared for her 7 children.
Our mother is a very nice person, even approaching 100 years. Well, now it's not approaching because she's actually 100 and very nice. The best thing to describe her is as a nice soul, very nice. Okay, while she was growing up, she always tells us about her mother. She was very close to her mother, who died soon after her own husband died. At 31 years, she was having her 7th child. And her husband suddenly became ill. A very robust man, he suddenly became ill. And she had to watch him slipping away from her. And on the 7th day, her 7th child was born. So it was a tough time for her.
After Mrs. Kroll's husband passed away, she was left with the sole duty of being the breadwinner of the family. She made and sold hats for almost a decade before gaining employment at the West Demerara Hospital as a cook.
At first, she made hats. She had to get the hats, the straw, from right up, learn to make them. And then a good friend advised her, don't do straw so much, do crinoline. Crinoline would sell more. So she had to go to do that and sell all around this country. Because as the hat business was taking off, you had to go further away from home because many people were making hats at the time. So she left and she went all over the country. She had help from a sister, her only sister, and all over she went, all over this country, the Essequibo everywhere. And she sold these hats for about 7 years, right? Mm-hmm. And after that, it was tough. She got a job at the now regional hospital on the West Bank there, as a cook. And that made life easier because she was home more and she was always there for us.
Mrs. Kroll's daughter attributed her mother's long life to being caring and giving in her youth.
It's a big heart. She helped. It's amazing how she found time to help others. She was struggling, had all her challenges, and still find time to go and help others. And she was very strict with us. So when she comes home, she made certain things important. Nutrition, church, and school. You had to get those in whatever order. She did those. And we took example from her because she wanted everyone to go to high school. And from her vision, everyone went to high school and university.
For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. Don't go away after the break. Afghan refugee group arrives in Mexico after fleeing Taliban rule, and Thai monks volunteer on COVID frontline as cases surge. But before that, here's the bridge retraction schedule.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome to Kissoon's Furniture. Find everything you need for your home and more under one roof in our newly decorated showroom. Our locally crafted furniture has been perfected over the last 60 years. From our hands to your home, we also bring to you our newly introduced lines of imported furniture and sleep center, where you can find a wide range of beds and mattresses. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 60 years.
For decades, milk has remained the same. Until now. Introducing the Great Dairy Full Cream Milk from Alabama Trading. Enriched with vitamins A to D and calcium to promote healthy teeth, strong bones, and vitality. Great Dairy Milk is delicious and fortified to encourage healthy cell growth within the body. No wonder it's the #1 brand of milk produced in Ireland. Now available nationwide in 400-gram packages at leading supermarkets and wholesale vendors. Distributed by Alabama Trading.
Survival Shopping Complex brings to you its delivery service, Shop through WhatsApp. This process is simple. All you need to do is call or message your grocery list to 613-9683 and we will select your items for you and have them delivered directly to you, even out of town. This is convenient because we can stay on the phone with you as we select your favorite brands. We're happy to do your shopping for you. Contact us on WhatsApp today and shop Price Smart at Survival Shopping Complex.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at news in the region and around the world. Mexico has accepted yet another group of refugees from Afghanistan, which includes 124 journalists and their families. Mexico has taken in migrants and refugees from Central America, but some experts have voiced concerns about its ability to give them proper care. Al Jazeera's Manuel Rapallo reports.
This is the moment Afghan refugees were first greeted by officials in Mexico City on Tuesday night. Their arrival follows what Mexican authorities have described as a difficult journey across 6 countries. In the pre-dawn hours of Wednesday, a second flight arrived with more than 100 other Afghan nationals, many of them journalists and other media workers seeking refuge in Mexico, all of whom were welcomed personally by Mexican Foreign Minister Marcelo Ebrard.
We might be very far away from what is happening in Afghanistan, but the human cause, the protection of the values that we identify with as Mexicans, have led to a commitment from us. so that they can be in Mexico.
When it comes to rolling out the welcome mat for refugees, Mexico has a long tradition.
Historically, Mexico has been a top destination, especially for people who are fleeing political situations, as was the case with Chile, Argentina and Spain. Mexico has always been an important and welcoming nation.
Across Mexico, many are expecting the country will welcome more Afghan families in the days ahead. Shelters like this one, near the outskirts of Mexico City, say their doors are open to anyone seeking a safe space and a meal.
We don't discriminate. If people want to come from Afghanistan or anywhere else, they'll be well received.
The arrival of refugees from Afghanistan also spotlights how Mexico is already hosting a growing number of displaced people from around the world who are seeking asylum. So far this year, Mexican officials have recorded more than 64,000 asylum applications, and data suggests that 2021 is on pace to set a new record for the number of people seeking asylum in the country. Some experts have warned that Mexico's ability to care for everyone may be limited due to the growing populations of migrants and refugees fleeing crises in Haiti, Venezuela, and countries in Central America. Mexico is one of only a handful of Latin American countries, including Chile and Costa Rica, that have offered a commitment to aiding refugees from Afghanistan. Manuel Rapalo, Al Jazeera, Mexico City.
Internationally, as consumer prices in the United States rise at their fastest pace in 13 years, there are some signs the inflation rate may be peaking, but that is of little comfort to many workers who find their wallets already stretched. Al Jazeera's Gabriel Elizondo reports.
It's another day heading into work for Brian Kulas, and it's no easy commute to get to his job as a banquet server. It's 160 kilometers, almost 2 hours each way from his home in East Brunswick, New Jersey, to his job in Atlantic City. He doesn't do it by choice, but out of necessity. It's the only job he can find where he makes enough income to survive each month, but barely.
People, I don't always think, realize what it's like to have to live on half a penny. You know, I call it sometimes splitting pennies.
Brian is one of an estimated 125 million Americans who live paycheck to paycheck. It's now even made harder by rising inflation. For many years, the inflation rate in the U.S. hovered around 2%, but it's been steadily increasing this year to where it's now about 5.5%, the highest it's been since 1990. Food, rent, energy, new cars, those are the sectors that have seen the biggest price jump. And economists say it only takes a slight increase in inflation to cause a huge impact.
The perception that inflation is a problem could lead us to make some very bad choices in terms of the economy. If we, God forbid, raise interest rates right now while unemployment is still elevated, that could be a real economic disaster.
Anti-poverty advocates say inflation is only a small part of a bigger problem.
The income inequality that has been growing over the last few decades is really the key concern. We've had wage stagnation in this nation since the early 1970s, and wages have for decades not kept up with the high increases in costs of living.
For Brian, he faces a new challenge. His landlord raised his rent. He can no longer afford it, so he'll be evicted next month.
It's like taking a look around because I can't afford to live here. I don't belong here. You know, it's a really nice place, but I'm out, you know, only because I can't afford it.
He says if he can't find anywhere else to live, that car he drives to work will also then become his home. Gabriel Elizondo, Al Jazeera, East Brunswick, New Jersey.
And finally, Thailand is battling a raging coronavirus pandemic, with just 9% of the population vaccinated. Many Thais are angry about what they say is the government's botched handling of the outbreak. Some sectors are now suing the government for loss of income and are stepping in to help their fellow Thais. Al Jazeera's Scott Hylier reports.
His saffron robe disappears beneath the white of his medical protection suit as Pra Maha Prampong prepares to head out. The Buddhist monk leads a volunteer team organized by his Bangkok temple to one of the many poor communities suffering from Thailand's worst COVID-19 outbreak since the start of the pandemic.
When it comes to taking care of patients and access to basic public health, this is something that should have been taken care of by the government. We all know the COVID-19 situation in Thailand is very severe. Not everyone has had their inoculations. Many people have fallen through the cracks and have not received any help.
His team administers rapid tests for those who can't afford them. 2 lines means positive. In this cramped household, 6 of the 12 people tested positive for COVID-19. But it's not just those being neglected by the government's COVID-19 medical response plan who are suffering. The economic impact on some of Thailand's industries is so deep, they are turning to the courts to hold the government accountable. Spas and massage parlors are big business in Thailand, at least they were before the pandemic. The industry used to bring in over $1 billion a year, but now more than 80% of the businesses are closed for good, putting more than 200,000 people out of work. In the repeated times the government has tightened COVID-19 restrictions, spas and massage parlors topped the list of closures. They've been closed for most of the year, without any compensation from the government. A group of massage parlor owners and masseuses filed a class action suit in civil court, seeking $6 million in compensation.
This case is where many victims have been damaged by similar actions, and the people damaged by these actions of the government should be compensated at the same time. This is so they don't have to risk filing individual suits and possibly getting different verdicts.
The Prime Minister's office and the Ministry of Public Health both refused our interview requests. As the government tries to keep up with its delayed vaccine program, new infections will continue to increase and the lockdown will likely remain, as will the reliance on volunteers to come to the aid of the communities that need the most help. Scott Heidler, Al Jazeera, Bangkok.
And that is it for today's regional and international news. Here now is your 3-day weather forecast. That is all for this edition of Channel 2 Headline News Updates. Tune in on Friday at 5:30 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, stay safe and take care.